You can always tell how Folds is feeling before the show. If he backs into his parking spot, he's feeling like $1 million, gonna be a good show. If he goes in frontward, gonna be a tough day at the office. So I kind of think it's kind of like Groundhog Day, really. The new year, if he backs in to start the year, is it gonna be a good year? If he doesn't, well, then I got some bad news. He's got the radio on very loud too.
We are live, everybody. We are deep and down in the bowels of Lee's music. That's Chris Folds, that's Greg, that's Magic Mike, that's Bonnie, and this is Kamloops Last Week. Foldsy, how was your time off?
Good. It was good. Worked most of the Christmas holidays. Most of the newsroom had some time off, which they needed. It was good. It was actually real winter, snow, cold, nice Christmas. Subdued like last year because of the plague, but other than that, it was pretty good.
I don't think it was very good for your dog, Darby, and I was shocked and dismayed to see this video that your wife posted, and
Come here.
the boots on this dog. I think it's like a size 9 foot that's shoved into like a size 3. It's like a geisha,
Yeah, it's like Bobby Orr. This is Bobby Orr when he played hockey. He always wore 3 or 4 skate sizes smaller so he can skate around the ice a lot. Yeah, this is little ridiculous actually.
It's animal abuse.
Well, no, it's worse than that. It's like my special lady friend buys these boots for the dog. And they're nicer than any shoes I have. And it's just another indication of the softening of society. Like, we talked about this. Society's so soft now. People get so worked up over a word. They have to take mental health day and stuff like that. It's gone down to the dogs now. There's dogs going across Syria, running from ISIS, and they survive. And we have dogs in Kamloops who we need to buy boots for to walk around the neighborhood because it's -20.
But you were going along with it with your wife. Oh, come here, Darby.
Girl, yes, right.
Darby's goose-stepping like she's in the German army, trying to kick these things off.
I was, when you're married, you defer to the boss, and I just said, okay, fair enough. After a block, she was running like a horse.
Yeah. Hopefully she stops trying to hump me every time I come over. It's every single time.
Yeah, I looked that up. They don't do with anyone else. So I don't know. Well, you are single, right? So, there you go.
I had a pretty big moment over the holidays. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it, but got in a bit of an accident there. Mm-hmm. Coming up the 99 or going north on 99 near Lillooet, and hit some ice going down a little left turn and flipped my truck. So you'll notice no Herman today. Herman's in the back of my rig in a tow yard
in Lillooet. Yep.
In Lillooet, barrel rolled down the bank, and pretty much lucky to not be seriously injured and lucky to be alive. I definitely had that moment that people talk about, not like the life flashes before your eyes thing, but where I thought that this could be. This could be it.
Yeah.
I had that actual moment. I wouldn't just bring it up to be exaggeration, hey, look at me. But very lucky to be alive. I just want to give a shout out to a guy named Dennis Luis. He works at BC Hydro. He was following me, and he picked me up. He kind of threw a rope down the bank, and once I kind of got out of my rig, which is going to be a write-off, he was shaking like he had Parkinson's. But he gave me a ride back into Lillooet and dropped me off at the police station, and was just very, very kind to me. So I just want to give a shout out to him. I mean, if I was stuck down there, he would have been there to come and help me. Luckily, I was able to get out of it, and I had my seatbelt on, or else we're talking, serious injury or worse. So thanks to my new buddy, Dennis Luis, out there in Lillooet. Okay, we can't do this show without our beloved title sponsor, New Leaf Produce Market. I went down there this morning. I asked Herman actually last night, what are you pumping? He said it's Juice January. So have a look at this commercial right now. Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2022, and we could not have done 2021 without New Leaf Produce Market, our beloved title sponsor. There's Jen over there working very hard, one of the best employees I've seen in a long, long time. I talked to Herman. He says, Marty, make sure you pump Juice January. Well, Herman, your wish is my command, pal. Have a look. Maybe it's the pure apple. Maybe it's the pure pear. Do you like apple and beet? Maybe it's the pure cherry. Maybe you don't like juice. Well, do you like fresh produce? Because I do. Have a look at that. They keep it right. They keep it tight. They keep it fresh and clean at New Leaf Produce Market. Probably should have mentioned this off the top. We're doing our top 10 stories of 2021. We're going to look back at the year, so let's get right into it. Number 10, kind of a boring one really, but this is number 10. It's record housing prices.
It affects everybody. In fact, it affects people who can't afford housing more than it affects people who are in the housing market, because as the housing prices go up, people who are trying to get into the market, like my kids who are 22 and 20, even they said to me, they'll never be able to afford a home in this era unless something happens. And it's true.
Yeah.
We're at $669,000 for an average house price in Kamloops this year. Last year was 460 or something. So it's going up 200 grand.
Yeah.
The assessments just came out. We're filming this on January 5th, 2022. The assessments came out yesterday. 27% increase in single family values, 21% in condos. It's through the roof.
So give me, for dummies here, how does this affect my taxes with my hike, which was, I think, around kind of the normal one?
People open it up and sometimes they start hyperventilating because you say, oh my God, my home went up 25% in value. That means I'm going to have to pay 25% more in taxes. It doesn't work that way. What they do is they look at the average across the city, which is including condos, townhouses, and single-family homes. The average is 27% this year. So if you are at 27% too, your taxes won't go up aside from what the city's 5% raise is going to be this year. If you're over that 27% average, the more you're over, the more you're going to pay in taxes. If you're under, you might even see a reduction in your taxes.
My house that's constantly being pecked by these woodpeckers, and I think my property would be worth like $40,000 more if these things...
It's lost you a couple of roommates, hasn't it?
Well, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Like, they started March, basically, about 6 in the morning. They get you awake. And then they kind of let you go back to sleep. And then right when you're going back to sleep, and this goes from like March to June.
Yeah.
And roommates have left my place. Like,
and just when you think they're done, they're back.
They're back.
They're like the pandemic, right?
Yeah,
they're like
Mike,
COVID.
do you have this problem at your house? Do you live by trees?
I do. I have a woodpecker, and I started spraying them down with water, and they went to my neighbor's house. So,
I think.
But it does sound like a machine gun going off.
Yeah, it does.
I think there should be a day in Kamloops where, like, a woodpecker culling day, where you're allowed to go and anyone can bear arms and just shoot these things because they're a disaster. Okay, let's move on to number 9. The federal election. That's Frank Caputo right there.
There's Frank Caputo. He's our new MP. He's the first male MP to be elected in Kamloops this century, which is interesting. He is a Conservative MP, and he succeeds Kathy McLeod, four-term MP. She didn't run this year. He won the nomination, and he coasted to victory, as most Conservatives have done this century. This is number 9 because you mentioned the housing thing is a little boring, it's a little stale. This was a very boring election too. It was an unneeded election. It was $600 million to go exactly where we were before, and the Parliament makeup is almost identical to what it was before. All it has done is amplified the fringe groups on either side to be a little more vocal, and it was kind of even covering an election in a pandemic era when there's no in-person forums or debates. It's very sterile.
Yeah. We did meet a couple interesting characters.
Oh, we did.
Wayne Allen.
Wayne Allen's your man.
Actually,
yeah.
Speaking of woodpecker calling, he would
get
love
him,
to call the woodpeckers.
Wayne Allen was a candidate, independent candidate for one of the 6 running, I think. 6 or 7, and his one of his main platform planks was he was going to allow, he was going to fight the gun lobby, say everyone have a gun so we can get rid of the cougars and the coyotes that are coming into the town because of the wildfires, right?
Yeah.
So we can add woodpeckers to
Woodpecker
that list.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, before we get to our next story here, I do want to thank our segment sponsor, Cold Control Mechanical. And you know what? It's probably been busy for them with how cold it's got.
I think so, yeah. That might be a story we want to do to see how many furnaces they're fixing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I do want to thank these sponsors because we can't do this show without these guys. And it's my guys, Vinny and Dustin. Have a look.
There's other people in the same business, so what makes you guys stand out?
We're cold as ice. We're primarily refrigeration contractors servicing the commercial market, heating, cooling, commercial refrigeration, gas fitting, kind of a one-stop shop.
Well, when you call Cold Control Mechanical, you're getting a personalized feel. You know you're going to get 2 qualified technicians. We both have our tickets. Who you call and talk to is usually who's going to show up at the door. So
If we can find a solution to your problem, we will.
You know, we're both ambitious guys, and we like to get after it. And
I mean more like the jobs you guys have completed with Cold Control, like who you're...
oh, is that what you mean? Okay, we'll leave that out. Eh?
Yeah, leave that out.
Yeah, I was like, that's an odd one. That's okay.
I don't know what you'll edit it and stuff. I don't know.
We could argue a lot about where these stories land on the list. You have some issues. We can talk. You can tell me if I'm wrong
Further
here.
down toward number 1, you're way off base, but I defer to you because I'm a nice guy.
You gave me the stories. I'm the one that put these in order, so if you got complaints, you can yell at me.
Yeah.
TRU investigations number 8.
Yeah, this one is a pretty big story that's ongoing right now. It's we've talked about it on this podcast. And we've reported on it extensively in the newspaper. Jessica Wallace has done a lot of stories, a lot on this. Yeah, it's about 2 senior administrators at Thompson Rivers University. There's been a complaint filed against them by a group of current and former True employees alleging all sorts of misbehavior and boorish behavior, all sorts of stuff. And
the latest, I guess, which kind of happened over Christmas,
the
or right
latest
before, was Larry Phillips, and Wallace talks about it later. But
one of the two men under investigation is no longer employed at True. Larry Phillips, who was the human resources head, he's no longer there. We found out about it, called them. They confirmed it, but they said we can't talk about it much, but it's not related to the investigation. That's what they say.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they're telling the truth. Maybe he's got some kind of condition or something. But it seems pretty.
All we can do is ask and get and basically True. Like IH, all they do is converse in statements with the media. It's hard to even get. I don't think we've had a chance to even interview the president of a publicly funded institution about this. It's just statement after statement after statement. They can actually save a lot of money and just fire everyone and just have a statement in charge there.
Yeah, we saw.
That's what I would do. Just all you have is paper costs. Here's your statement. That's all they do anyway. They're not accountable to the media for sure. Anyway, the other one is still there. Matt Milovic, who is also under investigation. The complaint is under investigation. And we have to say here that nothing in the complaints have been proven yet. We got to have that caveat. And they're supposed to have the investigation wrapped up by early this year, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Just a little aside before we move on. Mike, you had a fantastic Christmas as far as sales here at Lee's Music, didn't you?
It was amazing. It's a year of guitar. It wasn't just Lee's Music, it was Riversong, and it was worldwide. Send out guitars to Switzerland, to Australia, to all over the United States, all over Canada. It's just been a little dream come true for us and our little workers.
Well, you're quite a salesman, because I told you about my accident and how I was about to get drowning in my vehicle, and you said, well, maybe you can start playing guitar. He's selling all the time, no matter.
A life change might be in order.
A life change.
Life-changing moment to start playing guitar.
What better life change than a guitar from Lee's Music?
Yeah. All right, let's move on to number 7. Street issues.
Yeah, street issues. We call this street issues because it's so complex. You can't just say it's homelessness or it's mental health issues or it's addiction issues. It's everything. We call it street issues. I know a couple of readers took issue with me for saying that in the paper, but they're issues that emanate from the street, and the issue emanate from the street because these poor people are stuck on the street more or less, and among the whole street population in town. There are people who are homeless through no fault of their own who need help. There are people who are homeless, mental health issues, addiction issues, and there's a smaller subset there. There's just some criminals in there taking advantage of that population and others.
Yeah.
But the issues from this range from crime to vandalism to loitering to just businesses being defecated upon, and it's just a matter of how to deal with this, and it's a growing problem, and I don't think anybody has an answer.
And we had some good dialogue on this show. We had Glenn Hilke, we had Jeremy Heighton, who kind of represent a bit of a different side. I mean, Jeremy is concerned about the businesses, and rightfully so. Some of these businesses are being adversely affected by some of the stuff that's going on. And then Glenn is advocating for these people who there's a lot of mental health problems and social issues that they're plagued by. So, like you said, it's tough to know how this is going to be solved.
No, it is. We have 3 shelters that are open. One is open at the old Stuart Wood downtown. 2 more are going to open, but they're not going to open until I think March or February, March. And it's bloody cold out there right now. And the city has no warming centers at all. Even right now, January 5th, came in here today, minus 24 the wind chill. I could barely walk the dog this morning. She wasn't wearing shoes, by the way. And I can't imagine seriously being outside if you're homeless. During the day. I mean, why we have all these community centers. We have 9 community centers in the city right now that are basically unused. West Highlands Park, there's Albert McGowan has Hal Rogers Center. I think there's 9. And since this cold snap started back in December, I don't think one of them has been opened up. And it takes 2 minutes to open the thing up and allow people to warm up. And that kind of pisses me off because it's easy to do. I don't know why the city hasn't done it, and they could have done it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to make light of the situation, but you said make sure Mike knows that we're waiting outside in advance, because he normally makes us wait outside for like 10 minutes before we get into the studio.
Well, yeah.
It's too cold for that.
It is cold. Now, see, that's right. We've become soft with society. It's not our fault. Society's soft.
My point is, imagine if you're out there all day.
Imagine if you're out there all day. Now, this is a Memorial Arena, so this is a shelter that the city is using as a shelter, so I'll give them kudos for that. But then again, the people who want to use it for hockey are pissed off, so it's not an ideal solution. everyone using this shelter are going to be moving up to the old Greyhounds station when that opens.
Yeah.
But the point is, they have to get around. You can't just stay inside all day. But at nighttime, the shelters get full. This gets full. I can't imagine being out there, and there are people out there because there's no room for them. And during the day, if it's not cold out, it's fine to be on the streets in the day.
Yeah,
But
it seemed
when
like
it's-
this year it was more in the public eye, and maybe that's because of the pandemic too. Well, we talked about kind of the catch and release situation too. But that's more crime than mental
Well,
health.
that's crime, and there are some of the crime that emanate from the street population. There are people with addiction issues and with mental health issues who do a lot of crime. I was talking to a lawyer, as I mentioned to you. We were golfing last summer, and there's probably less than 20 people, chronic prolific offenders, creating 90% of the problems in the city, and they just can't keep them in prison, and that's another complex
Well, the
issue.
visibility part of it, anecdotally, again, we talked about this. You and I went for a pint at the
Plaza.
At the Plaza, and it was just, I've never seen it so blatantly out there with the drug use and the drug dealing and that kind of, right in front of you, everywhere you look, kind of, it was that bad.
I think the problem has just grown, and I think it's grown to the point where people who wouldn't otherwise be out there are out there, and for various reasons.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to number 6. RIH Problems. This is ongoing. It's going to be ongoing for a while. We had Dr. Scott Hughes in here to talk about this.
Yep.
Staff shortage, surgeries on hold.
Yeah, the hospital, the staff there is what people are. They're not beefing with the staff. The staff there are tremendous. We have a colleague, James Peters at CFJC, who had a life-threatening medical incident. Had to go to the hospital. He's back home now. He's fine. But he made a point of saying, "Hey, I was treated amazing in there, and you are treated amazing in there. They're just to the wall, stressed out.
Yep.
Staff shortages.
We get the DMs, we get the emails, people who don't want to go on record a lot.
We get doctors, nurses, and last week a couple of people in the housekeeping sector emailed us. It's just an ongoing problem there that I think stems from their belief that management doesn't know how to run it properly. But it's such a complex issue. You have nurses who are stressed out. They take leave. You can't fill them in, and then it creates this huge rolling ball of stress for everybody.
Was this pre-existing pandemic too, and now it's just been highlighted a bit more?
Yeah, we talked to one doctor who said that the issues at Royal Inland predate COVID.
Yeah.
They're amplified by COVID, but by no means, if the pandemic went away, it would still be problems there that they need to fix. You had a death in the waiting room. I did a story on this poor baby who died there. They couldn't get the baby to BC Children's fast enough. You have the amputation lady who had her leg amputated. Jessica did a story on another gentleman, Jay Barlow's father, who just kind of withered and died there. It's a lot of, but then it's not the staff's fault, is what we're saying. It's the system. And when we talk to the doctor, Dr. Scott, they have some ideas of what should be done. Maybe they can just get the frontline people to tell the pencil pushers, the administrators, this is really what needs to be done because we're here and we see it.
And speaking of Jessica Wallace, she'll be co-hosting next week. I don't know if you knew that, but she'll be in your chair. You've been given the boot. But we can hear from her right now in the Last Week Clique.
2021. It was just unrelenting, and I know people are busy and the holidays can tend to take over, so just wanted to flag a few stories that hit my desk right before I went on holidays here that may have gotten missed. Number one, the TNRD board received a presentation on its forensic audit findings. We're still waiting for the report to be released in the new year and the conclusion of the RCMP investigation, but the findings were released by the auditor. Number two, gyms in Kamloops defied public health orders in order to stay open. The business owners, a couple of the owners spoke with us and told us that, you know, they should be an essential service. The mental health of their clientele was of concern. So if you're right now a gym goer in Kamloops and you're still going, you can thank your local gym business owner. Number three, TRU AVP People and Culture Larry Phillips is no longer working at the university. This was one of the last stories I filed right before I went on holidays, and TRU confirmed he is no longer there. However, and this comes amidst an investigation that is expected to wrap up early this year into his conduct. Allegations that have not yet been proven. The university's official word is that he it wasn't his departure wasn't related to the investigation. In fact, they touted him for modernizing the human resources department there. But we expect that there is more to come on that story.
You might remember back in June, a Kamloops man won $35 million in a Lotto Max draw. I'm sure that since that win, a lot of that money has gone to a good use, but it seems like others are preying on that potential goodwill. This week I have a story in the paper about a man from Hazelton who was taken by a scammer on Facebook posing as that same Kamloops lottery winner. The man scammed had nothing but good intentions, and now he's offering up his advice on how to stay safe on Facebook. So give that a read.
Hey guys, Socialite King Mike Potestio here. So in the paper, in this Wednesday's paper, I got a couple of stories. They are on our Unsung Heroes feature that we have. We have about 3 this week, and we'll have some more in next week's paper. And I got to profile a couple of interesting programs in town. One was the Snow Angels program through Volunteer Kamloops. It's run by Anita Jacobson. Basically, it's a pretty simple program. They connect seniors who live on their own with volunteers who shovel their walks for them. And it's really an invaluable service, especially has been this year. We've had a lot of snow, a lot of snowed-in driveways. And Anita was telling me basically how the seniors can be essentially just completely snowed in and unable to access any services. A lot of services won't come to their door if there's not a clear walkway. So to have someone help out an elderly person with mobility issues to get that walkway cleared so they can keep the snow clear, it's huge. It's an absolute game breaker. So that's all for me for now. Back to you guys in the studio.
Number 5 is the overdose crisis worsens.
Yeah, this is the saddest of the top 10 story list. This is a bunch of fentanyl pills, and that's the cause of all these deaths. It's generally 85%, 89% of all overdose deaths this year. Again, this has been the main cause of it is fentanyl. It's a cheap drug. They cut it to increase the profit. They put it in the cocaine and heroin. People unwittingly or wittingly take it, and they tend to die.
I'm usually amazed at the lack of compassion shown sometimes, whether it be from people who read these stories or in the comments who say, well, just don't do the drugs. It's your fault. Mm-hmm. I don't know. If you talk to the parents of these kids, as I have in a couple different, three that come to mind right away with Paul Adkin, Julie Lyon, and Brady Dalkey. I mean, these are regular people who just maybe get a little bit lost and it can affect anybody. Yeah. You can do drugs one time at a party and you're dead. Well,
but coming back to that, I have all the compassion for the families. But we need to know though. We need to know if you're a recreational user. Yeah. Weekend warrior, whatever you want to call them. Back in the day, I did cocaine. Yeah. When I was in my 20s, I did some cocaine. And I liked it, but I knew that I couldn't keep doing this because it's not good for you. I think everyone has done some kind of drug sometimes. Back then, the worst that can happen, you would get ripped off, you get baking soda. Now, the worst that can happen, you can die. Yeah. So you really can't do it. I mean, I'm not talking about people with addiction issues. That's a different thing. But if you're a person who's got just regular life and you say, I'm going to go party and have some Coke, you can't do that anymore. I tell my kids, you can't because you could die. And that never happened before. Yeah.
And not some of the people Paul Adkin was more recreational. Yeah. Brady and Julie were addicted. I mean,
you can get addicted from going to the doctor for an injury and you get hooked on opioids, and then all of a sudden you're looking for, you can't get that anymore and you need it. So it's a sad thing. The
Chris Seguin is another one.
Chris Seguin's another one. The former True VP of Advancement, I think he died one weekend in Victoria just. With some friends doing it's sad. It's really, but that's why you can't do this if you don't have an addiction. You don't need to do it. You can't do this. It's Russian roulette. The other thing on this story, though, I mean, it's the public health emergency was declared in April 2016 as fentanyl infiltrated the drug supply and the deaths started going up. And since April 16 to now, it's been tragic. There's been far more deaths from 3 or 4 times more deaths of overdose than there have been from COVID in BC. And it started to go down a bit in 2019, under 1,000, 900, which compared to other years was good. It's a good trending line. When the pandemic hit, everything went out the window. And since then, since March of 2020, we've set 2 successive records of most deaths, not only in Kamloops, but in BC.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know what the answer is. The chief coroner, Lisa Lapointe, has said over and over, and other experts, we need a regulated, safe drug supply for those who need the drugs. It would be cheaper and safer, and you give them the drugs they need until you figure out how to get the detox and the rehab beds in place. Trudeau has, to this date, not wanted to do that, and he hasn't explained why, and he really should get off his ass and do that.
October 2021, this was, as of that date, there were 1,782 overdose deaths. That was already the highest number in 1 year. And there
more
was
than all of last
two more
year.
months to come. I feel like a fraud. I've done drugs too. I don't want to sit up here and preach. So
No,
maybe that's why I have a better understanding of it.
No, we
right?
have, and I remember one time my kids, "Oh, you're a hypocrite." No, I'm actually, if I didn't do drugs, I wouldn't know what I'm talking about. I've done the drugs. I've done almost every drug under the sun. The point is, you need to know the dangers. And like when back in the day, I'm older than you, the worst that could happen is you get ripped off, you get baking soda, you get kicked in the ass, you go home, I lost $100 on a gram. That's not life is different now. You die now. It's a total different world. And it's not that you don't have compassion. You have to tell people who don't have addictions, don't do the stuff. It's not worth it.
And I think if you've done it, you know how easily it can spiral into something more than just recreation.
Beyond that,
it doesn't take a lot.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
in 2005.
I'm with you there, man. Yeah. Holy cow, some nights.
We should probably move on here. Let's go to number 4, TNRD spending scandal. This could be higher. Is this where you start?
This should be higher. This should be 1 or 2. But I defer to you because, again, I'm a nice guy. The TNRD. We've been talked about this ad nauseum. It's a big story. This story will just. We might have a viewer in Mars who hasn't heard about this, but you have the former CAO Suk Gill. He quit suddenly. We thought he quit. We have 5 or 6 different reasons why he left within an hour on February 14th, 2020. Turns out that he got the boot, but he had a legal agreement to say he retired. He got sent away with $500,000 plus severance package, which you don't normally get a severance package when you retire. So we knew something was up. We started looking into it. It took a couple of years to get all the data on the spending for 5 years. Jessica worked her butt off on that. Yeah. And we had this big feature in February of this year, of 2021. A year after he quit, and the feature was pretty astonishing. It was just incredible. Drunken sailors spending everywhere. And that story led to a forensic audit of the TNRD last month that came out, and it confirmed basically what we had reported, that, it was out of control and it was unethical. And it also spurred the RCMP to do a criminal investigation, which is ongoing, which might wrap up this month. It also forced the board of directors of the TNRD to change myriad policies. No more alcohol on the taxpayer's expense, etc. So this is probably the biggest story, in my opinion, of the year. 1 or 2 for sure.
I mean, for me, the reason I didn't put it higher was because it's more of like, it affects our area specifically. I think 3, 2, and 1. And plus, it's not, people aren't losing their lives over this. I mean, so I put 3, 2, and 1. That's what I was thinking. But it is a huge story, and it's still ongoing, right? I mean, what was the latest over Christmas there? I mean,
the forensic audit came out, but they haven't released the whole audit. We're waiting for the report so we can dive into it. But they did a presentation at the TNRD board and basically confirmed what we had reported, with a few other things that were interesting. The juiciest of which was
New Leaf Produce Market.
Yes, good juice at New Leaf. Was that Suk Gill used to submit receipts and write. I had dinner with these 4 people from board. We talked about board business, and some of those people weren't even at that meeting. Which I'm not a lawyer, but I would be wondering what that's all about. That's all.
Me too. Okay, let's move on to number 3, weather, and we compiled. How is this? This has to be higher, please, than TNRD.
We compiled. We could have done the heat dome, and then we could have done the atmospheric river. But we said, well, the weather's been crazy.
Highways.
The highways are out. Well, everyone knows what happened, right? This is Merritt.
What's this guy's name again?
Ivan Diaz.
Ivan Diaz.
He's a member of the Merritt Grapevine Facebook page, and he posted some beautiful photos on there. We credit him all the time, and beautiful in that, powerful photos. Yeah. This is just one of them of Merritt. Inundated with water. The entire city got evacuated, and many came to Kamloops. One of whom is in our paper today, January 5th edition. He runs a cafe, and he was doing some good work helping feed the evacuees. But this is...
I mean, just look at that.
It's just a devastation. I mean, the highways, the Coke Isle is still closed to recreational travels.
Yeah.
They did open it early for commercial, which was good.
Don't-
Highway
don't-
8's gone.
Don't take the 99.
Yeah, don't take the 99. Take the 3. It's longer, but it's safer, I think.
They
than the
encourage traffic to take the 99 too, because it stay off the big highway because the big trucks are in there. So that's what I
you
did.
slide up.
Ended up
That's
in
a
the ditch.
dangerous highway, though, that 99
Yeah.
too. Yeah, jeez. Anyway, this is a big story for sure. I agree. This is, it's probably bigger than the TNRD. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to number 2, which is COVID-19 continues. And the reason I put it this high is because it permeates every part of our life. Every one of these things in some way we could probably relate to, well, maybe not TNRD, that's an exaggeration, but most of them can relate to COVID-19.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the gift that keeps on giving. It never goes away, right?
Yeah.
It's like that woodpecker. You think he stopped pecking, he comes right back again. Yeah. So this this is Omicron. I think this is a magnified view of the Omicron virus, but variant. Anyway, yeah. It's what can you say? It's been the worst. I think last episode or 2 I said I predicted the Omicron is going to herald the end of the.
Yes.
And I stand by that. I think it's going to. The hospitalizations have gone up. Not to the staggering level seen back east, but we were at 211 before New Year's, and now we're at 289 as of January 4th. So they're going up. We have 86 in ICU, but we still have a lot of bed capacity.
Yeah.
We so far so good, but we'll see where it goes from here.
It's beyond fatigue at this point, mental fatigue. It's kind of revolt in some cases.
Well, there's revolt. I mean, a lot of gyms in Kamloops have defied the public health order to close. And they have very good, in my opinion, very good questions that aren't being answered as to why they have to close. Where I'm going to the Fox and Hounds tonight for trivia with my 2 kids, right? And I sit close to other people, and they're laughing and we're talking and we're having beer. We have no masks on. How is that any more dangerous than working out in the gym 20 feet from somebody?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that closure either. I mean, it's unequal and it's inconsistent, and like we've said millions of times on this show, when you have these policies and these orders that you understand this is a real thing, you're not a conspiracy theorist, but when the orders don't make sense, you're going to get people to sort of stop listening to the narrative, and the danger is you're going to get the people on the fence falling into the conspiracy side, which is not good.
I don't know, for me, like the last 2 years, they just seem like a blur. I don't know what happened when in some cases. It's tough to know what month it is, and my whole life is going to sports, even my social life and community. It's like going to, my life was okay, Friday, Saturday night, go to the Blazer games, go to the Broncos games, go to TRU games, and then my community was there. And then all of a sudden on a dime, my plight is not, people are dying, I get it, but this is like, your life's turned upside down. I have no social interaction with people. I'm stuck in my apartment, which is 46 degrees, and I can't open the window because there's smoke.
And woodpeckers.
Yeah, so it's just like, your whole life gets turned upside down, and that's the case for a lot of people. Everything just stopped on a dime, and you're okay for a while, or you think you're doing fine, and you get through it, and then I think it can all kind of hit you at once.
It does, and it's a mental health thing, and it really gets, and that's what the gym owners are saying is like there might be some kind of risk, but with this Omicron. Buddy Henry said, and it's on page 5 of the story I wrote today, everyone's going to get this eventually. That doesn't mean you put down your guards, but everybody, she said, is going to be exposed to this. So what do you do? Do you lock yourself up in your homes, or do you try to manage?
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to manage. And I know we said this a year ago, but I think, well, there's another variant in France that just came out too, so I don't know how bad that one's going to be. But yeah, it's just. But I think with this one, this Omicron, it's going to come in fast and it's going to go out fast.
Yeah, let's hope so. And let's move on to number 1.
Yeah, this is a big story. This, of course, is the former Kamloops Indian Residential School to Kamloops, and it was bathed in orange. And this photo is taken by Alan Douglas, our great photographer.
215 probable unmarked graves.
200 now. They've
200.
Yeah. So they did a ground penetrating radar survey of the former grounds of the there's an orchard down here where they did a search, and the ground penetrating radar was done by Sarah Bula, who's a professor at University of Fraser Valley in Abbotsford, expert in this stuff, and they found soil disturbances that they think are graves, unmarked graves. They don't know until they do exhumation, and they haven't done that yet. So until they actually dig into the ground to find out what the soil disturbances are, they don't know for sure what they are. but based on her expertise, she's pretty sure there's 200 unmarked graves there.
I mean, this was a national. I mean, it was
International
almost a
story.
global
It was.
story.
It was in newspapers around the world, like literally in newspapers in Italy, England. The India Times had a story on it. Everyone had a story.
I mean, it was a wake up call. I mean, it's in your own backyard, and you know, you drive by that school all the time. You kind of know what went on, but for me, just like going and seeing the drumming circles and seeing people gathering and actually being there.
Absolutely, it's and just yesterday, there's been more news about. There was a day scholars. Like the day scholars were the kids who went there but during the day and went home. They're also in line for a settlement. Chief Godfredson, the former chief of Kamloops, started this way back, like more than a decade ago. And yesterday they just announced the terms of the settlement. So some day scholars are going to get some compensation for, what happened to them there. Some were abused there as well.
Okay, that's the top 10. Any final thoughts to wrap it up?
No, there's a few other stories during
Mike, what do you think about our list? How do you think the placement went? What are we off? What do you think?
I don't know. I think you guys are right on with the list and the placement. You missed Betty White.
Right.
I don't know where she is on the list. But,
Betty White, John Madden.
John Madden, that's right, yeah. There's so many stories, and if you look at our top 10, and this is where, there's the old mantra, if it bleeds, it leads, and the media is all negative, but the most impactful stories are ones that sadly tend to be a bit negative, but there was some pretty neat stories during the year that weren't negative, such as Gary Hill, Kamloops man who won $35 million as part of that record jackpot, and he did a little dance on TV and told about how he saw a dragonfly, and the dragonfly was luck, and he went and bought a lottery ticket, and lo and behold, he won that much money. And there was all the people who responded, including to Kamloops, where Mike was there most of the summer with the evacuees from the fires. And just helping people like crazy. Mike was there most of the summer, helping with setting up the music, setting up the tents, setting up, helping with the food.
Guitar lessons, all sorts.
Yeah, and keeping people's moods upbeat as they're running from the flames. So from disasters come good news too, and actually we're highlighting that in the next 2 editions of Kamloops this week. We call it Unsung Heroes, and it starts on page 1 of today's paper.
But realistically, a lot of it was doom and gloom, even in sports. I mean, kids who didn't get their provincial championships, school kids who didn't get their graduations, the World Juniors being robbed from the hockey players, the Blazers not being able to finish out their seasons, the fans not being able to see that. It just go down the list. It was predominantly a garbage year.
It was a garbage. It's been a garbage 2 years, but among garbage, sometimes little flowers bloom. I agree. We have right now we're in day 2 of the BC men's and women's curling championships, which are ongoing. Of course, we can't see it, but you can watch it online.
And some breaking news, actually. I think tomorrow there's going to be an announcement where Kamloops is going to get the 2023 Scotties Tournament of Hearts, the Women's National Curling Championship.
Right. So that's a good news. I mean, the Blazers are rising their banner for winning the BC Division 2 years in a row.
Hopefully the league doesn't get shut down in the next couple days.
Doom and gloom over here. There's things happening here, right? My dog's got some nice shoes. Everything's fine.
Your dog's getting surgery right now for a geisha feet. Okay, so sponsors: Homes is where the heart is matchmaking, Twin River Painting, Coal Control Mechanical, New Leaf Produce Market. Because of you, we were able to survive, and I think we have about 125 subscribers on YouTube. It's a good base. We've got hundreds, tens of thousands of views on Facebook. I went a bit high there, but we're doing well. And Mike and Bonnie, we thank you for a fantastic. Yes, Bonnie's got the horns up again, for helping us out in 2021, and we look forward to 2022. If you want to hop on board and sponsor our show, let me know. I'm easy to find online. Prayers up for Darby. Prayers up for Darby. That's Folds. I'm Marty. We'll see you last week.
Girl, we'll give her a few treats for that.
Last Week.